All right, so peace and shalom, family. I guess, yeah, that's fine. What's going on? What's going on? I'm not going to be here for long. Just want to do a quick check-in session with everybody. So I'm not doing a Freestyle Friday video tonight. I'm a little tired. I'm still experiencing jet lag, didn't get a lot of sleep. And I'm working on this message for my grandmother's eulogy on Sunday. So I'm really not prepared to do a Freestyle Friday tonight. So I'm sorry to disappoint a lot of y'all who are looking forward to it, because a lot of y'all look forward to it every Friday. But just bear with me, let me work on this. I'm gonna strive to have some content over the weekend. I will be going to a Shabbat service tomorrow, as well as to a Passover tomorrow. So I'll be getting some footage for y'all. Shout out to my cousin in the building. Now, what's going on now? What's going on? So thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. So I'm just going to take tonight and just focus on putting together that message. I will be recording it on Sunday. And what I'll do is that I'll edit it and I'll premiere it next week for y'all to watch it. I think y'all going to truly enjoy it. I'm trying to have it done before the 31st. So hopefully Tuesday, I'll have it done and out for y'all on Tuesday. I know a lot of y'all are keeping the Passover this weekend, right? So happy Passover to those of you who are keeping it. Chag Sameach, happy feast. So yeah, a lot of that's going on. So I've just been a little jostled and thrown off with everything going on, coming back to New York and just thinking about my grandmother and everything like that. And I wanted to make sure that this message is fitting for her and that something that she would be proud of. I just need to take a little bit more time to work on it, especially now that I'm tired. I'm gonna try to get as much as I can done, but I'm sure y'all will like it, enjoy, and appreciate it when it's released. You feel me? So, so now, okay, I got you now. Dream Sky says one occasion we keep a Passover. So our Passover is April 11th. That's when we're doing our Passover sis. So about 2 weeks from tomorrow. Okay. So shout out to my peoples in the building. Sister Shamira, Shalom, Ocean Blue, Stephen Mikhail Key, Aishu Code, Jaslyn Berry in the building, Foolish World 75. Nachia Kaysen, Shalom Sis, Jimmy Johnson, M. Kyles, Minister Dave Post, Daria Halliburton, Yellow Rose 7, Kevin Jones, Sister Millie Love, y'all over money. What's going on, y'all? What's going on? Shout out to Kid Ron and Don Williams, Ezra in his building, Sean Williams. He said, I made it for once. Shalom, family. Shalom. Shalom. So typically, if this was a regular Friday, I'd be prepared to do a whole session with y'all, but it's just, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I just not there this Friday. You feel me? One thing I'm grateful for is this thing right here. This little camera setup, man. So tempted just to record just a whole bunch of stuff. So those of you who follow the channel, you'll see the previous video that I have up was when I had to go get the COVID test. It's crazy because I went and got the test, and when I flew into New York, nobody asked me for it. But if you go to, so what Delta does is that they send you confirmation email, right, after you pay for the ticket, and then they send you a follow-up email to do a check-in, right? And then in there, it shows you this whole disclaimer. Oh, if you're going to New York, you're going to be required to, show a negative COVID test. And I'm like, okay. I was just in New York less than a month ago, didn't have to do that. But I was like, wow, this is kind of crazy. So I go get the test. And being that I'm taking it for travel purposes, it's not covered under the insurance. So you have to pay out of pocket. So I pay $150 for that. I never wanted to take one of those tests in my life. But this was the biggest exception because I had to be in New York, especially for this Sunday. So I was like, all right, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm getting the vaccine. That's totally different. And I said, all right, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I did it and didn't even have to present it. So what they shared was extremely misleading. I'm very upset over that, but I can't take it back. Nonetheless, it gave me an opportunity to test out this camera here. The quality, you know what I'm saying, this camera, I really like it. This is a nice camera here. I bought the shooting grip, which is the piece right here for it. As you can see, there's buttons on the back that you can hit to record, take a photo, zoom in, zoom out. I want to use optical zoom. And this is a really nifty camera. I'm still figuring it out. There's a lot of features on it that I haven't explored yet. But I mean, this right here encourages me to produce more content for y'all. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I thank y'all for your donations and support, because it made it possible for us to get equipment and other stuff that we need for the ministry. So I appreciate that. All right. Shout out to Remarkable Ministries in the building, Sister Tiffany's, Brother Sydney, Shalom King, LAE, what's up? AJ, Bethia, Shalom, debate talk for you in the building. Shalom King, what's going on? What's going on? The Village Faction, Shalom, Leon Farlow, Shalom, 617, let's get it. Shalom, Shalom, Ice You Cole, what's going on? Thank you so much, my cousin. Now we got to talk. You up again at 11:30 p.m. now. If you're still up, I'll give you a call as soon as I get off here in a few minutes, and we can chat for a little bit if you have the time. If you don't have the time, because I completely understand, just let me know when and we can wrap. All right. Shout out to my brother S. McGee in the building, Living Proof. What's going on? Shalom. Sadari Halliburton. This is the Sony ZV-1. It is a vlogging camera. So there's no standard way to take any pictures with it. You can only take pictures once you initiate a video recording, and then you can take pictures while it's recording. So it's really geared around the vlogger-centric audience, right? And since I want to shoot more footage and more films of the things that I do, travels that I make, you know what I'm saying? I want to make sure I have this now. Next Sunday, which is Easter Sunday, again, we're going to go to Creflo's Church, and we're going to have the shirt, you know, to do our social experiment. It's going to say Jesus did not resurrect on Sunday, and it's going to say Easter is actually Passover in the Bible. And we're going to go in there and fellowship just to see how much does the shirt stand out, right? So I spoke with my PM team that's working on our t-shirt designs and our future clothing line that we're going to release this fall. And I told them that I was going to do a social experiment where I'm going to put on a shirt and we're going to go to a church. This to pretty much showcase how much people actually pay attention to what you wear, right? Well, you don't have to open your mouth and say anything. You let the shirt speak for itself. So it's going to have these two phrases on the front and back. And it's going to have scriptures and hashtag and everything else on it, and the logo for branding. And just see how many people may approach me, how many people may move away, how many people make me weird faces. So I'm going to bring this camera with me when I do that. Try to get one of my two videographers to come with me to film. And maybe some people from our KHM chapter. We just had a KHM chapter meeting that was awesome. I enjoyed it. We had an Ima Tabat Sphere meeting earlier today with our elder women and our facilitators in that group. Again, KHM is doing a lot of big things, man. I'm just grateful to the Most High that we at this point. It took about 7 years plus to get here. But I mean, you know, our timing is not the Most High's timing, right? So nevertheless, I'm glad that I have this thing now so I can give more content, even if it's just me talking to the screen or showing you something day to day or whatever the case may be. I can continue to provide more content and give more insight in regards to, you know, what we do at KHM, what I do as DivineProspect, and just give you some notable insights. All right. And this is to really give you enough content until I transition back into doing the classes, doing the lectures, and stuff like that, because that's the stuff I enjoy. I just got a lot of stuff on my plate. Once I clear it off, then I jump headfirst into that and start producing that type of content, which I enjoy. Also, we'll be filming our reality show later on this year. We're going to start our documentary later on this year. If travel restrictions is not too heavy, then we'll be able to do our international travel, set up our international chapters, and also begin filming for our documentary. Okay. So we have a lot that we have planned. It's just all in timing. Shout out to all of our KHM members that are out there. We appreciate y'all. Through their donations for membership dues, they have given us the startup capital to create programs, services, and products for the community. So thank y'all to that. To those of you who subscribe to the Patreon for the scholarship side, we appreciate y'all. The super chat, thank y'all. And again, we're doing our best to allocate our resources. We also have a finance director. Shout out to my brother Javen Bradshaw. I've been working with him recently, so he's our finance director for KHM as well. And then we're working on our all hands meeting on March 31st. So all the members in the organization can see actually what's being done, what's available they can get involved with and stuff like that. So, and then the 1st of April, we're doing our first training module for National Crafted Eden. We did our documentation training module this week, and then we're going to do our training next week, and it's going to be on vitamins and minerals. Okay. So again, we're producing and we're doing this type of stuff. And like I said, June 6th, I'll be awarded with my degree. Yah willing. I'm working on my dissertation in May to make sure I have it submitted in time. And we got a lot of things planned, man. A lot of things planned. So we definitely appreciate the family for your support. We would love to get everybody involved if we can. Shout out to Kid Ron. Said, bro, you the man. You that man for the Patreon library. Patreon library is crazy. So those of you who saw the live stream, the test live stream, that was crazy. If you missed it, you just missed it. You just wasn't there. By the way, hit the thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up. Again, like I said, I'm not trying to be on here for hours and hours, just talking with y'all, doing a check-in session. You can ask questions if you want. We could talk. We could build. You feel what I'm saying? Tomorrow, I'm going to a Shabbat service in the morning. Then I'll be meeting up with my executive team, David and Gail. And then from there, I'll be doing a Passover with Lions of Israel in the Bronx. So if anybody's out there that's in New York City and you want to come fellowship with us, you can meet me at the Shabbat service. We'll get the address for that. I'll post it. I'll put it in the community tab as a post where I will be at tomorrow. So if you want to see me in the morning, you come to the congregation I'm going to and fellowship with me, or wait till the evening at 6 p.m. and come fellowship with us at the Passover. But Sunday I'm unavailable, and Monday I'm unavailable, right? So I'm only available today, but today was a really busy day. But tomorrow, all day I'm available. If y'all are in New York City, want to meet up or whatever the case may be, let me know. I'm also going to shoot out a text message to all of our New York City chapter members, KHM New York City chapter members. So if y'all want to come through, you can. But we will be officially setting up our chapter and doing our chapter launch on April 17th. Will be the chapter launch. And then May 1st and May 15th, we're doing our Raleigh, Durham, and our Houston chapter launches. All right. So we're not letting anything stop us. We have, after those 3 cities, New York, Raleigh, Durham, and Houston, we're going to add 4 more cities to that list, 4 or 5 more cities. And then we're going to take a break and focus on our international chapters. You know what I'm saying? But anybody who's not in any of those cities that we have chapters in, you can definitely visit or join up for our virtual chapter until we're able to situate you in a chapter that's closest to the city or town that you live in. All right. I want to say shout out to my brother Shay Michael. Got me in touch with brother John Maccabee, who will be featured on this channel for his business that he has called Yah's Beef. All right. Very interesting endeavor. Brother is very young, doing big things, and I support him. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Shay Michael and our New Orleans KHM chapter. They went and walked the land. You know what I'm saying? Surveying the land. They went and did a drive for the homeless, etc. Man, had families come out and everything. So New Orleans chapter, is growing. So if you're in the New Orleans area, email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com or get the app. Click on membership, sign up so we can place you in the New Orleans chapter. All right. Shout out to the sister, Dream Sky Love, for the donation. We appreciate that, sis. Thank you so much. So BT says, Shalom, I'm new to all of this. Can anyone tell me if the gym is okay on the Shabbat? So I'll go ahead and address that for you, my brother. Let's get to this. Let's get the scriptures. All right. Let's get the scriptures. I went over this with another brother last week in a one-on-one call, but I'll share some information with you, my brother. All right. You seem sincere, so I'll definitely help you out. Let's go to Exodus chapter 16. Exodus chapter 16. All right. So Exodus chapter 16, verse 4 says, Vayomer Yahweh el Moshe hini mamtir lechem min chasamayim we yasa ha'am we laketu debar yom beyomau lema'an anasenu hayelech beto rati im lo. Right? So with this it says, and the Most High said to Moshe, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, And the people shall go and gather a certain quarter every day, that I may test them, whether they may walk in my law or my Torah, be Torati, my law, or not, im law. So that's the key thing. So this right here was a testament of establishing the Shabbat, which is in Exodus 16, not Exodus 20. And here it was a test to see if they're going to keep the law. And they failed the first test, but after that, they did what they were supposed to do. So the first thing about the Shabbat is it's a testament, right? Or a test that whether or not you're going to keep the law of the Most High, or the Torah, right? So that's the first thing. Keep that in mind, all right? Exodus chapter 20, right, elaborates on that. Okay, let's get Exodus chapter 20. All right, we're going to go to verse 8 where it says, remember the Sabbath day, keeping it set apart. Okay, which is Zachor et Yom HaShabbat leKadeso, right? Remember the Sabbath day to keep it set apart. Now, also you have the Shabbaton. The on is a diminutive in Hebrew, which means a minuscule or smaller version of something. And that Shabbaton is a shorter Sabbath within the largest Sabbath that makes up the 7th day. And that shorter Sabbath period is from sunrise close to sunset. And we learned that in Exodus chapter 16, because the giving of manna was a testament of keeping the Sabbath, that you gather it twice the amount on the 6th day, so you have enough left over for the 7th day. All right. And the period of time was from sunrise until the sun waxes the hottest. All right. Now, Exodus chapter 20, verse 8, and I'll read that a little further. It says, but the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Most High your power. On it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter, your male servant or your female servant, or your livestock, or the sojourner within your gates. For in 6 days the Most High made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the 7th day. Therefore, the Most High blessed the Sabbath and made it set apart. Okay? So the key thing here is that term work. Now, what has happened is oral traditions have made attempts to establish what is defined by that term work. So in the text, the word work is melakah. Melakah is the word, which is a feminine singular noun, melakah, and that has to do with work. Now, what does that entail? Well, in chapter 16, that work pertained to the gathering of manna to provide sustenance, right? And they were told to gather it on specific instructions to see if they would keep the law of the Most High, right? So if we relate it back to that incident in Exodus chapter 16, it has to do with gathering food for sustenance, okay? And the things that you would use to prepare that food, right? So the evening before that Sabbaton, or the daylight portion of the Sabbath that you rest, they were told to bake what you want to bake, boil what you want to boil, seethe what you want to seethe, up into Boker, or the twilight hours, when the transition from night goes into day. Okay, so again, Melakah, from the example in Exodus 16, has to do with gathering of the food. However, if we go further into the text, if we go to Exodus, go a little further. All right, let's go to Exodus chapter 31 and verse 12. And it says, and the Most High said to Moshe, you are to speak to the people of Israel and say, above all you shall keep my Sabbaths, for this is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I, the Most High, sanctify you. You shall keep the Sabbath because it is set apart for you. Now, key thing you want to hone in here so that you understand when you're reading this within context and trying to understand it based on the language is in Exodus chapter 31, verse 13. You see the word there for Sabbaths, which is sabbatote, right? So you shall keep my Sabbaths. Ak et sabbatote tismoru, right? Or maru, which is you shall keep my Sabbaths, right? So that's the construct plural of the word Sabbath. So it's plural. So what does that mean? Well, the feast days in the fall were considered Sabbaths. And we can see that elsewhere in the text. So this is what this is referring to in verse 13. However, when you go to verse 14, it's specifically referring to a singular Sabbath, right? Where it says, U Samaritan et ha-Shabbat, right? So it says, therefore you shall keep, direct object marker, what the Sabbath. Ha is your definite article, ha-Shabbat, the Sabbath. So one is the Sabbaths, and that's in a construct form, which means it relies upon the my possessive that we find that follows it, right? The noun that follows it, or the verb with the pronoun that follows it, the possessive pronoun. And then here is referring to ha-Shabbat, which is the definitive article or the definite article pertaining to something in particular, not generally plural. So this is referring to the weekly Sabbaths. She says, therefore you shall keep the Sabbath, for it is set apart. Ki kodesh, for kodesh, set apart, it is to you, which is hi laken, it is to you, and everyone who profanes it surely shall be put to death. Whoever does any work, again, that word melaka is there, shall be cut off, and that person shall be cut off from his people, or from among his people, right? Mikereb am meha, right? From amongst his people. So that's important, because again, that word melaka is there. Again, it's not clearly defined what melaka entails. However, when we go and we see Exodus 16, it gives an example of actually collecting. But we see as it goes, as we look in Exodus 20, that can refer to laborious labor. That means the typical day job you would do, your 9 to 5 job, right? So a business day is 9 to 5, and the work we do during the day is a business day. During the Israelite times, a business day was from sunrise to sunset. And that's the period in which you did your labors. You didn't do a lot of labors at night because you were restricted to the home because of the lack of artificial lighting in the field to do pastoral duties as a pastoralist, or to do agricultural duties, right? A lot of activities were limited to the home. And that's why we even see in the evening before the day portion of the Sabbath, you see that all the work is confined to indoors, where they bake what they bake, boil what they want to boil, and leave it up until the evening, right? So recreational activities, is that considered laborious work? Well, that is where you have in the Talmud, you have a whole tractate on the Sabbath where they try to outline the things you can and can't do, what actually is work and what's not work. So for my suggestion to you would be, because it is not clearly defined and limiting or prohibiting us from doing recreational work, I would say keep the fundamental principle of it, which is you must acknowledge the Creator on that day, and time must be devoted to that. If you choose to do recreational activities, it should not be laborious work where you're doing it the whole day as if it's like a 9 to 5 job, because the time is taken up that should be devoted to the Most High. So I would say consult with the Most High on that. Let him convict you by way of the Ruach on that. But my suggestion is it's better to be safe than sorry. If you can avoid it, then avoid it. But if it's the only time that you can do something, minimize the time in which you do it, but maximize the time that you devote to the Most High. But your 9 to 5 work, you should be ceasing from that labor. And if you can refrain from preparing food or whatever, do so, right? Because that may add to the work, or anything else that may distract you from devoting that time to the Most High and you resting, because your body needs rest in order to recuperate to deal with the next 6 days of work or labor. Keep that all in mind, all right? And I'm just using Shemot or Exodus to kind of convey this point, all right? So hopefully that was thorough enough, my brother, to point you in the right direction so you can get started with this information, okay? All right. So what else is going on here? Again, hit 1 if the audio and video is good. Hit 1 if the audio and video is good. I'm not live streaming with this camera. I'm using my Logitech Brio 4K webcam. It seems to be doing good. Again, I'm using artificial light. It's nighttime, so I don't have any natural light coming through. But I think the line is okay. But hit 1 if the audio and video is okay. I also gave my mom my old router, which is still like, I paid like $400 something for that router. Because the router that she previously had, I got it for her like almost 7-8 years. It was a long time ago I got her that router. I got her a brand new router, and we doubled her internet speed to benefit her when she's working with my niece doing homeschooling. I'm not homeschooling, school from home, so that there's no stuttering delays in regards to upstream, downstream bandwidth. And also when I'm here, I can do live streams like this, and we have enough bandwidth and throughput, so that way we don't have any hindrances or stuttering when I'm providing Freestyle Friday or anything else. So you're saying 1, that means good. All right, cool. So Yah General is absolutely correct. Sometimes you need to get the goat out of the ditch on a Sabbath. Yes, because if not, overnight, that animal could die, and that is your livelihood, right? So sometimes you have to make those exceptions, like circumcision can also be done on a Sabbath. You got to make exceptions, right? So sometimes exceptions be made, but because an exception is made does not mean it's the norm. And you should take advantage because you have leeway for an exception. That's only circumstantial, not something that's pre-planned or premeditated. All right. All right. So Ramal Yahoo says, is not having milk and meat Talmud? Yes, that is their halakhic interpretation of the scripture that talks about not boiling the lamb or the goat in its mother's milk, right? Because again, a lot of times, unless you understand the culture within this historical, linguistic, and customary context, you may not know what that idiom is referring to. And what happens is, because a lot of our people are disconnected from the culture, they interpret it and admire it in different ways. But by looking at sister cultures, you're able to know what that means. And if you're saying, well, Divine, tell us what that means, I'm going to tell you, wait for the series. We have a series coming up. We're going to go through all the statutes, laws, and commandments, and then we're going to break down everything for you. So you got to wait for the series. All right? Help us support our series. You know what I'm saying? Dream Sky Lover, yes, yes, sir. I mean, yes, sir. Wow. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sis. You're absolutely correct. Family is priority to me. You know what I'm saying? Whenever I can take care and help out any way that I can, I will. And by virtue of that, and through extension of that, y'all are my family as well. And if y'all need help, I'm here to help y'all as well. All right. So I apologize for the mix-up. I'm a little tired, so just forgive my lack of verbal acuity and mental acuity. They're slightly off right now, or offset. But just bear with me. All right. I apologize for that, sis. All right. But thank you for your support. I appreciate that. All right. So Dash Sharab says, why is Afro-Asiatic the supposed youngest? I don't know what you mean by that. How is Afro-Asiatic the supposed youngest in that Afro-Asiatic language family? I'm not sure what that means. Maybe you didn't mean to say it like that. Or you saying, why is Hebrew the youngest in the Afro-Asiatic language? Hebrew is not the youngest. It's not. All right. So Hebrew unity and truth. As far as the Nazarite vow, there's no prohibitions in regards to that. The only exception, if you go to Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 6, is that once the vow is completed, the ritual afterwards you cannot perform because there's no priest and no temple, right? So you can still keep it, because the purpose of that is taking time to set yourself apart in devotion of the Most High. So there's no prohibitions that cannot be done in captivity, or it ceased once they went into captivity. So if you decide you want to do the Nazarite vow, you can. However, the ritual parts you can't perform because we don't have the priest in the temple. All right. That's all. All right. Shout out to Sister V Love in the building. Thank you so much, sis. I'm glad you understand. You always understand. So I appreciate you for that. Yawasop says, can you exegete Isaiah 28, 9-10? Sure. Why not? I told you this wasn't a Freestyle Friday, but I guess whenever you get a chance with me, you got to ask me a bunch of questions. I'm okay with that. That's fine. I just don't plan on being here long for me. I got to start finishing out this message for Sunday. All right. So you are showing me Isaiah 28, 9-10. This is a very familiar passage to a lot of us. I'm going to read it. Isaiah 29, verses 9-10. To whom will he teach knowledge? And to whom will he explain the message? Those who are weaned from the milk, those taken from the breast. For it is precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little, there a little. For by people of strange lips and a foreign tongue that the Most High will speak to his people, to whom he said, this is rest, give rest to the weary, and this is repose, yet they would not hear. And the word of the Lord will be to them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, that they may go and fall backwards and be broken and snared and taken. So this is important because the key thing is to understand who is the author and who is the audience. What is the historical context? What is the cultural context? What is the linguistic context? And unless you understand these things, you're going to create a million doctrines out of that. The key thing about all of this is verse 13, that this method is going to be done that they may go and fall backwards and be broken and snared and taken. So that means if you're doing things, and again, I'm just saying it based on the context. This is not to offend any of our brothers and sisters who use this a lot to say, okay, this is about cross-referencing scriptures. That's not what this is talking about. This is not talking about cross-referencing scriptures. Matter of fact, this is done in a form of satire or a form of, I'm trying to find the best word for it. But satire is the best thing I can think of, whereby you're being treated like a baby, right? Because after babies are weaned off the milk, right, breast milk, then they start to speak. And they're very rudimentary in speech, right? So this is what this is referring to. Because of Israel's disobedience, their rebellious nature, their stubbornness, he's going to have to talk to them through strange lips and a foreign people. That's the key thing. That messages will go to them. Well, where is this fulfilled? Let me show you. I'm glad you asked that. Let me show you. Check it out. And then we're going to go over those words, precept, precept. What does that mean? All right. So let's go to Yeshayahu, Isaiah, chapter 44, verse 23 to verse 45 and 8. All right. Isaiah 44, 23. Listen, family, I'm trying to be nice. I'm a guest at my mom's house. I'm trying not to turn up. Y'all got me turning up. All right. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to jump just straight to verse 45. Let's go to verse 45. Chapter 45, excuse me. All right, let's go to chapter 45. All right, this is your fulfillment of that. Thus says Yod-Heh-Wah-Feh to his anointed, to Cyrus. He is a foreign king, speaking a foreign language, whose right hand I have grasped to subdue nations before him and to loose the belts. Now, mind you, Cyrus is called what? What is that word there for anointed in the Hebrew? Y'all should know this. What's that word there for anointed? The word where you get your Messiah, your Meshiach or Mashiach. He was a Messiah to Israel. Why? Because of their disobedience, they got broken, snared, and taken into captivity. And because they got taken into captivity, now they're behind enemy lines, but because of a righteous remnant, he says, I'm going to bring them back so that way they can come and restore my city, temple, and walls. But he allows Cyprus to do so. You can go through this, what's called the Cyprus cylinder, and see what, Cyrus, I keep saying Cyprus, the Cyrus cylinder, and you can see what his policy was in regards to allowing peoples to go back to their lands and go back to their religions, which he allowed Israel to do. So Israel was able to take advantage of that mandate. But the Most High had to use a strange tongue and a foreign people to teach them line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, right? And that through their disobedience, they will be ensnared, broken, taken captive, etc. Okay? And this is through command after command, line after line. Like, these foreign people have to teach you something by means of the Most High. So through your disobedience, you are then taken captive. Now, that also happened by Nebuchadnezzar. So Nebuchadnezzar also was a foreign king, represented a foreign nation that took them captive. Okay? And the Most High said that he will allow this to happen if the Israelites did not straighten up, and they did not. So Isaiah 45 verse 1 says, thus says the Most High to his anointed. Again, we're going to the word Mashiach, to his anointed Cyrus, all right, who have held his right hand to subdue nations and all this stuff. So here's your example. And then through the lips or the words of him, because we have the words of Cyrus recorded, okay? The Most High says this about Cyrus. He says, I will go before you and level the exalted places. I will break in pieces the doors of bronze and cut through the bars of iron. I will give you the treasures of darkness and the hoards in secret places, that you may know that it is I, the Most High, the power of Israel, who call you by your name. For the sake of my servant Jacob and Israel, my chosen, I call you by your name. I name you, though you do not know me. I am the Most High. There's no other besides me. There's no power. I equip you, though you do not know me, that people may know from the rise of the sun and from the west that there is none besides me. I am the Most High, and there is no other. I form light, create darkness. I make well, create calamity. I, the Most High, who does all these things. Now, let's go a little further. Let's go a little further into this. All right. Let's go to let me see where I'm gonna pick it up at. All right. Let's go to Ezra chapter 1. Ezra chapter 1. And we can also go to the scriptures on Babylonian captivity as well. But Ezra chapter 1 says this, right? In the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of Yod-Heh-Wah-Veh by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Most High stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, so that he made a proclamation to all his kingdom. It also put it in writing. Thus says Cyrus, king of Persia. Again, he's speaking it from a foreign tongue, a strange people, foreign tongue. The Most High, the God of heaven, has given all the kings of the earth and has charged me to build him a house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Whoever is among you of all his people, may his God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and rebuild the house of the Lord, the God of Israel. He is the God of who is in Jerusalem, and let each survivor in whatever place he sojourns be assisted by the men of his place with silver and gold, with goods, with bread, with beasts, besides freewill offerings for the house of God that is in Jerusalem. All right. So again, fulfillment of that also spoken by the prophet Jeremiah. Jeremiah also says the same thing that we see similar to what we get in Isaiah. Let's go back to that scripture you gave in Isaiah. All right. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 28. All right. And let's look at these key things, right? For by people of strange lips and with a foreign tongue, the Most High will speak to his people. We just saw Cyrus, who is strange lips and a foreign tongue, spoke in the book of Ezra in regards to the reestablishment of the city, temple, and walls. And before that, Isaiah chapter 45, the Most High is speaking about Cyrus, putting the prophecy on him, and then he winds up speaking it, right? So these things are designed to entrap the people. Why? Because they did not heed their own native prophets. Remember I told y'all the lives of the prophets. Remember I told you about that manuscript? A lot of people didn't know about that. I brought that out on this channel. Well, you see what happened to Isaiah. You see what happened to Ezekiel. You see what happened to Jeremiah. The people kill their own prophets. So he has to speak to them through strange lips in a foreign tongue. All right? So look. He says, this is the rest, give rest to the weary, and this is the repose, yet they would not hear him. And the word of the Most High will be to them. Why? Because they do not hear him. And remember, this is the same thing that was spoken of. Let me show it to you. Hold on, let's bring it up. All right. All right, let's go to Isaiah chapter 6 and verse 9. Isaiah 6 and 9. Isaiah 6 and 9 says, and he said, go to this people, go and say to this people, keep on hearing. Again, Isaiah. A lot of times if you want an explanation for a particular passage, and again, this is why our classes are coming up. And when I do my classes, it's going to be early in the day. I'm more sharp, more astute, whatever. But when we do the classes, we're going to show you how to interpret these texts. I'm going to give you all the tools and methodology to do so. One of the rules of thumb is if you want to interpret something that's going on in a particular passage, in a particular book, look for the answer first within that book, because the author might give you the answer elsewhere. But in Isaiah chapter 6, it says, and he said, go and say to this people, keep on hearing, but do not understand. Keep on seeing, but do not perceive. Make the heart of this people dull and their ears heavy, and blind their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their hearts and turn and be healed. Then I said, how long, Adonai? And he said, until cities lie waste without inhabitant, and houses without people, and the land is a desolate waste, and the Most High removes people from far away, and the forsaken places are many in the midst in the land. So all of this is referring to the same thing. This is not, all right, get me Isaiah chapter 14, and let's get the precept for that, because got to be precept on precept, line upon line. Get me Zechariah chapter 12 and 14. That's not what's being said here, right? Let's go back and define what those words are. And again, this is not a slight to any of our brothers who do that. Like, that is our all halakha of that passage. You have two types of halakha. You have halakha, midrash, agadah, midrash, halakha. Midrash, or the extracting out of the text to interpret and understand it. Agadah deals with the narrative portions of the text, and the halakha deals with the legal code part of the text. This deals with the narrative part because this is not a legal code. Therefore, if you form your own midrash and interpreting this to say, hey, we're going to use this as a means of speaking to our people, because now people are dull of hearing. They see but don't perceive. They don't understand. So we're speaking this as a testimony against them. So therefore, the commandments we're bringing out and the narrative we're bringing out is foreign to our people, right? The word of the Most High is foreign to our people. So now if you want to break it down like that and say, yo, this is our midrash agadah, this is how we interpret this passage for application today, that is the safest way where you don't take it out of its context. This is important, okay? So again, maybe some thumbs down in this video. I'm simply trying to show you how to break down the text, okay? And this is just what it is, right? But let me go back before I lose my train of thought. Isaiah 28, and let's look into this to see what these words mean there, all right? So the word is kisa, lasa, sa, lasa, ka, laka, ze'er, sam, right? So for precept upon precept, right? Now, what is that word there for precept? What does that word mean? What word sav means command. It comes from root word sabah, and sabah means to lay a charge upon, to give a charge to command, to order, to appoint. That's what that means. That means a command. That is not a scripture. Unless you're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to put up for thus saith the Lord, and I'm going to use that to mean command. I mean, if you want to stretch it that way, you can try to do that, but within its context. For command will be upon command, and then it says, for line shall be upon line. What do you mean when you say line upon line? Very interesting. There's something called a mimicry. All right, let's go into the definition of a mimicry. I want you guys to understand what this is. All right, and then I'm going to step away for a second. So a mimicry is the close external resemblance of an animal or plant part of one to another animal, plant, or inanimate object. The action or art of imitating someone or something, typically in order to entertain or ridicule. That is what the idiom there is expressing. So again, until you look at the literary devices that is utilized in the text that the author was conveying to the audience within its historical, cultural, and linguistic context, then you will disconnect the value of the text within its context to suit your needs today. And that is not how you go about living out this word. All right? This is why Christian apologists, they laugh at us when we do stuff like this, right? Because we do things out of context. At least if we can find a way to kind of explain out, okay, this is why I do this, this is why I do that. And what I simply try to do is give you the methodology and tools to do that. All right? So understand, look up mimicry. That is a literary device, and it was designed to ridicule the Israelites because of their disobedience. And those are all the scriptures that you will utilize to link this thing together to understand what this is talking about. All right? When it says a line, literally a line, right? Or a senselessness of something, or line in regards to a measuring line of something. We see that also in Job chapter 38 and verse 5. All right? Or a circumference of something, right? Again, look up mimicry as a literary device that's utilized in Isaiah chapter 28. All right? Then it says here a little, there a little. All right? Literally, the word little, ze'er, is the word for little, something that's small. Here a little and there a little. Again, this is a idiom or a cultural expression that the immediate audience of the author would have understood within its cultural, historic, and linguistic context. Because we've been far removed from that, that's why we interpret it the way we do, and it's not true to the text. All right? So my brother, that's just starting off. That's just me winging it. Hopefully that's sufficient enough to start you on a journey to better interpreting that text. But again, when you sign up for the classes, we're going to give you in more formal style all the tools and methodology to do the same thing I just did. All right? All right. I appreciate that, Dre to Beastie. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. So Hebrew unity and truth, I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean by that? When you say, so would that be Samaritan interpretations or our ancestors' actual midrash? What do you mean Samaritan interpretation? You mean northern tribe interpretations? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Anytime y'all will stop, but hopefully that helps. Shout out to Nechem Yahu Ben Yahukanon. Shalom to you as well. Thank you for joining us. Shout out to Don Williams in the building. Let me see. Yasun, shalom. He says, welcome back to NYC. Shalom, King. You know, I wish I could be here on better terms, but when I come back in April, I will be. But thank you for the welcome. I appreciate that. Shout out to my elder in the building, Oriyahu Ben Shem, shalom. My brother, Alexander McCaskill, shalom. Yes, thank you so much, sis, for caring. I appreciate that. So let me see. Thank you so much for your donation, King. My brother Alexander McCaskill for the donation. I appreciate that. Again, for me, also, make sure you sign up for the Patreon. I'm going to show it to you. And the reason why I say that is because the Patreon, we have these resources on the Patreon, right? The resources for a lot of these things are already on the Patreon. So you can equip yourself in the absence of these shows, so that way you can do your own study and come to your own self-discoveries, right? By way of being led by the Ruach, based on the foundation that you've laid down and built, so you can understand things within its proper and appropriate context. All right. Shout out to Anna Israel in the building. Shalom. All right. So Malach Yahizik Yahu. Excuse me for Ezekiel. King Ezekiel says, "What are your thoughts on the Samaritans and the Samaritan Pentateuch?" So the Samaritans is a mixed group, so they're not pure Israel, but they are half Israel and half other, based on what the king of Babylon did when the Israelites were taken out of the land in 2 Kings chapter 17, the northern tribes, and displaced, and foreigners were placed in there. And that's how you had the amalgamation of the Samaritans there. However, the ones that stayed in the land kept their oral traditions, and they kept their manuscript of their version of the Pentateuch. So that is looked at also by scholars in the realm of textual criticism, and seeing and ascertaining the original text. And the Samaritan Pentateuch is one of the methods to utilizing that. Also, the Samaritan Pentateuch is one of the only manuscripts outside of the Dead Sea Scrolls that actually preserve a form of the Paleo-Hebrew script, all right? Which is very unique and very important to those who like that script over the Aramaic square script or block script, all right? Thank you so much for the donation, my brother. I appreciate that. So the Samaritans have preserved a lot of oral tradition of the northern tribes, despite the fact that a lot of them were mingled and amalgamated with other groups, okay? So Hebrew unity and truth, I agree with you to an extent, but what I would have to say to you is, give me what part of the Samaritan Pentateuch do you believe that was changed? If you believe the Samaritans were outsiders, tell me what part. Cite what part of the manuscript was changed, and let me know what other manuscript you're comparing that against in order to demonstrate what that change is, right? So shout out to Seven Lights Photo. Seven Lights Photo, I think you are a Patreon. If you're a Patreon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the link in the chat for our Biblical Hebrew course, right? Let me drop it in the chat for Biblical Hebrew as well as the Biblical Greek. And if you are a Patreon of $20 or more, you can get access to this full-fledged course, and it's for absolute beginners, which means you don't have to have, and they expect you not to have no prior knowledge of any foreign language, and they walk with you through it from there. So I'm gonna drop that link in the chat for anybody interested in learning foundational Hebrew, not functional Hebrew, but foundational Hebrew. And then once you're done with that, we do have functional Hebrew course as well, right? All that on the Patreon, okay? Let me drop the link in the chat for you. Here it is, right here. All right, so anybody interested in learning biblical Hebrew, click that link. What I do, and I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I used to teach biblical Hebrew, and I was starting to teach biblical Greek. However, I realized that's the wrong way. That's the wrong way of approach based on the principles of KHM. KHM principles are holistic. We talk about culture, community, autonomy. Everything's holistic. So even our study of the text has to be holistic. So I do not want to solely just teach you the language, but if I teach you elements of the language, it's going to also incorporate history, culture, sister cultures, geographical location, migration accounts, topography, diet, sister languages to Hebrew, cognates elsewhere that we find, the context of the text, circumstances. So we're going to incorporate every little detail. So when we're reading like the passage of Isaiah 28, we're going to look at the language. We're going to look at the history, what's going on in history at that time. What are cultural idioms, things that would have been understood by the direct audience? How do we decipher those things? What tools do we use? What methods? So the method always starts with a problem question. You have to think about a problem question. That is, well, what does line upon line and what does precept, what does that mean? What is that? That is an idiom. Well, what's an idiom? Well, idiom is a cultural expression that the audience would have understood by means of the author speaking it because it's in a particular context in which they lived, so they would have been familiar with it. So if I say to you today, an idiom would be Sally kicked the bucket, well, you would know that means she died. But if somebody's outside the culture, they're not going to know what that means if it's read to them literally. So you have to be part of the culture to understand it. We restore that understanding to you by giving you that environmental context so you can understand it. And that's what the classes are there for. All right. So hopefully that begins to help out with that. So in regards to your question, Ramal Yahoo, can one be cut off from Israel because he didn't? And I'm gonna stay on for maybe another 7 minutes. So I'm gonna do an hour and I'm out, okay? Can one be cut off from Israel because he didn't know what food he or she had in his house that had yeast in it during Passover? Well, when you discover, so there's two things, right? There's the sin of knowing, or the falling short of knowing, and the falling short of not knowing or ignorant. If you've done your due diligence to clear your house of yeast, and then you discover during or after you still had yeast, then yes, you would be cut off, meaning you would isolate yourself from the community for X amount of time, and then you'll be reintroduced to the community. But if you decide out of stubbornness, you're stubborn, you're rebellious, and say, yo, I don't care, I'm not doing this, I'm going to do Passover and unleavened bread how I feel like it, then that's different. Then the Most High is going to deal with you from that. Then you're going to be cut off just all around. You understand what I'm saying? So it depends on ignorance and depends on being, or yada, or knowing, right? It depends on the situation. Okay. Shout out to my brother, Son of the Times TV HQ. Shalom. Media Man 24. No, I don't subscribe to it. I have read it, but it is not authentic. All right. It cannot be authenticated. All right. Like what we call the canon. It cannot be authenticated. So it's very insightful to let you know what the Judeans at the time, what they thought and what they believed. However, it cannot be authenticated the way the canon can be. All right. Shout out to Scott Garrett Headley in the building. Shalom. Yashar Yahawada. Shalom. I don't know why you're doing a sleeping face. Are you hating today? Are you in your best behavior? Or are you acting up? You let me know. All right. Let me see. Stanley Phil says, thank you for the Patreon. No, thank you for supporting the Patreon. That's why it's there, to give you additional resources so you can fact check the stuff that I'm saying. Shout out to my brother Yahoo Seth Ben Yisrael KHM in the building. Anytime, my brother Malak, I got you. And I'm looking at your picture there. Are those Ethiopians? Is that the Ethiopic text, or are those Samaritans with the Abisha scroll? Tell me. I think those are Ethiopians. I can't see all of it. I think those are Ethiopians in your avatar, but it may be the Samaritans with the Abisha scroll. I'm not sure. Just let me know which one that is. All right. Shalom, my brother Ezekiel Ben Yisrael. Shalom, King. What's going on? All right. Anytime, my brother Jacko Black, I mean, I can't help but to share and to help, despite what I'm going through. And sometimes the best way to get yourself out of what you're going through is to help somebody else more or less fortunate than you. More or less, no. So help somebody else that's less fortunate than you, right? And sometimes when you do that, that helps get you out of your rut, right? So that's just, free game out there for y'all. All right. Temani Yisraeli. Okay, gotcha. So Nechem Yahu ben Yahuchanan. If that's the case, then what level are you pledged? Because if you're under 20, then it'll say that. But if you're 20 and up, you should be given access to that. If you're 20 and up legitly and you're still having that problem, email me at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com and I'll help you out with it, okay? I'll help you out, King, all right? No problem. Anybody having issues with the Patreon, if you're hearing this, email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. We'll help you with the Patreon. We are in the process of training an admin that will handle all of our support. So if you have questions about the One Church software access that the members have, our Patreon, our Fresh Skills training that you get as a member, anything pertaining to something online you have a difficulty with, we have a point person or persons that we're training that can provide that support for you, okay? And we'll give that to you, all right? Thank you so much, my brother. Thank y'all for caring about my time. I appreciate that. And my mom was gracious enough to make me something to eat. And it's over here getting cold while I'm talking to y'all. I try to make sacrifice. I haven't eaten almost nothing all day. Remember, I had to wake up at, what time did I get up this morning? I got up at 5 this morning. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning. I dozed off maybe for like an hour or so. So before I got up, I had maybe about an hour and a half of sleep from the day before. And then the day before that, I had maybe about 3.5 hours of sleep. And then I had to get up. My flight was delayed, wait on a long line, get checked in. I couldn't sleep on an airplane because I was thinking about what I had to do coming here. And then the turbulence didn't help either. And then I landed here. Since I got here, I've been trying to settle in, run a couple of errands because I didn't want to do much on the Sabbath. And then from there, I tried not to fall asleep, but I laid down and I wound up sleeping for like an hour and a half. My body's like, nah, son, you're going to sleep. So then I slept for about an hour and a half, and then I woke up and I was like, man, I'm back on time. So I had to make up for that time. And then I went to go help an associate of mine. I live in this area. It's just a lot, you know what I'm saying? And I try not to stretch myself this thin, but even now I realize that for some people, this information for them is important in their walk. And I don't want to hinder anybody's progress simply because a question or two hasn't been answered, right? So if I can sacrifice some time to help y'all, then I'm here to do that. You feel what I'm saying? So Truckin' Booj, I think I'm saying that right. Lynn says, eat your meal. Okay, I'm gonna eat, sis. I'm gonna eat, sis. Sister Tiffany said the same thing, all right? So the let us has to do with Hebrew grammar. It has nothing to do with the Trinity. But the Hebrew grammar also relates to something else. So if you go to Job, matter of fact, I'll end off with this, all right? Thank you so much, my brother Ice Code. I appreciate that. All right, so let me answer this last one, and I'm going to go eat, all right? Let me answer this last question because I want to help the brother out, all right? He's asking us the same question. Let's go to Genesis chapter 1, or Bereshit chapter 1. Bereshit chapter 1. In verse 26, it says, Yomer Elohim na'aseh Adam besalmenu kidmutenu ve'yirdu bigat hayam ube op ha-shamayim ubab behena ubekal ha'aretz ubekal ha-rametz ha-rometz al haaretz, right? So check it out. Where it says, let us make man, that's in the Kal imperfect first person common plural. So first person common plural, we know that how? By looking at the prefix, the na. Let us make man, all right? and our image after our likeness, and let them rule over. So what is that? What could that possibly be referring to? Well, let's go to Genesis chapter 1 and verse 1, right? Genesis chapter 1 and verse 1. And it says, Bereshit bara Elohim et ha-shamayim ve'et ha-eretz. It says in the beginning, or not in the beginning, because the definite article is not represented there. So it's in a beginning, right? Bara Elohim, or created gods, or God created. Now, key thing is Hebrew grammar, the verb and noun has to have an agreement, and also the agreements must also be in number. But in this case, we have a singular verb and a plural noun, which represents what's called a collective noun, or a way that Second Temple Judaism tries to explain it is called a majestic plural. But this represents what's called a divine consortium or divine council. All right. How do we know that? Well, there's other passages in Psalms and Kings that actually elaborate on that a little further. But I think the best way to get a picturesque view of what's going on is to go to the book of Job. And I'm going to show you this in the book of Job real quick. And then I'm going to get off. All right. I promise I'm going to get off. I know some of y'all is like, yo, Divine, you're doing too much. You're running yourself ragged. I understand. I know. I love my people. I'm here to serve. But sometimes you're right. I do have to, walk away. But check it out. Let's go to Job chapter 38. Let's start at verse 4. All right. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to read it in English. Now, this is the Most High speaking to Job. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determined its measurement? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? And what were its bases sunk? Or who laid its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons, the Bene Elohim, shouted for joy. So while he's laying the foundation of the earth and building out the earth, there's already an audience there. That's the divine council. So from that time to the time man is being made, that council is still there. So when he says, let us, he's speaking in encompassing of the Most High himself. And when he says the likeness and image, those sons of God were also in the likeness and image of the Most High. So making man is also in the image of the divine consortium, the divine council. And I think I touched upon this in my last lecture that I did, which is called El Shaddai, Yod He Wafe, El Elyon, three of a kind, or one in the same. All right, go and check that lecture out. I'll talk about this in more depth, and hopefully that helps to answer your question. All right. So I'm not going to take no more questions, family. I'm about to back off. Thank you so much, my brother Scott, for the donation. I appreciate that, King. Shout out to Javon Lewis in the building. What's going on? And anybody I missed, True Al Day, Shalom, Aki DB, Shalom, Deborah Newsom, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom to you as well. Do it for the nation, Shalom. Let me see, Lim Loves Zia, Shalom, sis. And hopefully I got everybody. Hopefully, all right. So again, family, let me get off, let me eat, let me unwind and refresh, let me get back focused in regards to how I'm going to lay out this message on Sunday for my grandmother. It should only be about 15 minutes. And then I got to record it and edit it and put it out for y'all. And I hope and pray that my grandmother is smiling from wherever she's at when I do this. Because it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to say. I tried to plan it out and all of that. And then it didn't work. And then when I was on the plane today, it just came naturally. And I said, oh, okay. I know exactly how I'm going to do this, right? So I did put together a couple of notes just to keep me flowing since we have a time limit. And from there, it'll be recorded, and then I'll be able to share it with y'all. So hopefully y'all enjoy it. I'm going to set it up as a premiere on YouTube by either Tuesday or Wednesday, and I hope you guys enjoy it, all right? But don't forget, all my KHM members, we have an all-hands meeting that we want to conduct on Wednesday. If all goes well, y'all willing. We have our Nasirite eating training, if all goes well, on Thursday evening, and several other meetings coming up. But the all hands meetings for all members of KHM to know what's going on in regards to the organization and the donations that you've given, what those funds are being allocated towards, and how you can get better involved with the different groups and departments we have in the organization. And we have a lot. And we have several of our KHM members that are in the building right now. All right. So again, family, hit the like button on our way out. All right. Make sure you share this video. Thank you so much for your time, for your support, your prayers, your condolences set my way. I appreciate that. If you are in New York City, all right, I will make a post on here on YouTube in the community tab where I will be in the morning, where I'll be in the evening, as well as I'll be sending a text out to our KHM New York chapter. And y'all will get that as well. And if I miss you this time around, it's okay. I'll be back on the 16th of April, and that 17th we'll be doing the chapter launch for KHM. We just couldn't do it this weekend because I had to do a memorial for my grandmother, eulogize her, and then this is the Passover for some brothers and sisters, so that keeps them from kind of, participating in the chapter launch. All right. So thank you so much for your time, family. I love y'all. I'm gonna head off. If anybody needs anything, our email is there on the screen, kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. We're here to serve, help you in any way that we can. Please, if you haven't joined the Patreon, join the Patreon. There's gonna be a post coming up when I return from New York for our cash giveaway, because y'all helped us meet 350 plus patrons, and we are breaking records. We're on the road to 1,000 patrons by the end of this year. And it's interesting because when we hit that, I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that. But we're on the road to 1,000 patrons by the end of the year. And when we hit that mark, I'm telling you, the platform that opens up after that, you won't even believe. But I'm gonna keep that on wraps. I've been working on some stuff. I'm gonna keep that on wraps. Been making a lot of connections and stuff because people see the support for this channel. When people see, like, man, they giving there, they're showing up, they're participating, they're organized. When people see what we're doing here at this KHM, they cannot believe it. They're like, how is this possible? I said, it's the power of the people. Never underestimate the Most High's audience, his people, and the servants he sends to serve his people. Never underestimate it. There's things that I've done, and only with the help of y'all, that has allowed me to be in a position to bring vicarious victories back to the community. And I will continue to do so, right? And all of your consistent support shows the outside world that we really don't need y'all. We can be autonomous and self-sufficient amongst ourselves. And we are achieving that. And you guys are making it possible. That's why I shout out your names. I want the world to know who is here supporting this movement and how long of a reach this movement is going to have to wake our people up all over the globe, and how the forces to be are trying to stop that, because they okay with Israelites acting ghetto and being crazy and rugged. But when you walk professionally, when you have a polish, when you're tactful and diplomatic in how you move and how you maneuver, that is frightening, because that's a display of organized power. And the power that is Yah being channeled through us. They don't like that. But we don't care. Hell or high water, whatever Yah tells us to do, we will do it, and we will stand. And that's all I want to leave it with. All right? So, so thank your family for watching. I appreciate that. This is the goodbye in the driveway. Yo, I love y'all, man. Y'all keep me laughing, man. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I enjoyed your time. Shout out to Mother Beulah in the building. All right, my brother John and Dorothy, shalom. Enjoy the rest of your evening, your Shabbat. To those of you keeping Pesach this weekend, unleavened bread coming up, enjoy. Again, if you're in New York, I'll put the details out soon. Let me eat, let me refresh, let me restore, let me refocus again. But if you need me, email me. And if it can wait and you need to get me better, call the number on Monday that you see scrolling across the screen. It's Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to talk with me one-on-one, I'm available to talk to any and everybody, any mama, right? Or if you need some kind of help or assistance, we'll be here to do that, all right? And you can support by doing the Patreon, the Cash App, Super Chat, or just sharing and thumbs up this video and even praying. Please keep me in the prayers. I'm going to try everything in my power to hold it together. I have the closest person I've lost to me was my aunt and my grandfather. And that was in 2019. Prior to that, I've never lost anybody that I was truly close with on a family level, right? My grandmother is a huge loss for me. So I have to keep everything in my power, even when I came here, not to break down. You feel me? Like, I love my grandmother. She's the best example of whatever you want to call whatever you are that I've ever seen in my life. I've never met a woman like her. And I don't want to misrepresent her or not perform to task at a time when you only have one shot at it. You know, so please keep me in your prayers on that I do it according to her satisfaction, even though she never complained, she never had a high bar standard or whatever. But wherever she's at, I want to do this message so powerfully that no matter where she's at, it'll capture her attention. You know what I'm saying? And inspire somebody else that in thinking about your lost loved ones who had a similar spirit, that you know that the legacy that they left behind resides in you. And all you're doing is reflecting it when you speak about their memories. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Love y'all. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon. Peace and shalom.